Michael, back-to-back home games, starting with Preston tomorrow. It's a chance to get the momentum back and running so you can go into the close season on a high.
Yeah, we've spoke to the players this week. We've had a good week, and obviously there's been a bit of change at the club as well. But the important thing is that we finished the season strongly in these 5 games. That will give us a chance to look at some players as well. And the most important thing, as I say, when you've had 2 defeats, is to try and win the next game. So regardless of whether it's home or away, obviously we'll hopefully take that opportunity tomorrow against Preston.
Preston are going through their own transition, and they've had a bit of a lack of consistency too. I mean, they lost 5 at home to Brentford, which they'll definitely want to put right. What type of game do you think you'll get tomorrow?
I think we'll just see another championship game. I think they will be a little bit direct. They've been playing with a back 3. Obviously, in that back 3, they've had Liam Lindsay, and Liam's not eligible to play in this game. So whether that affects their thinking, they've got good legs in the middle of the park, and we played them earlier in the season. They got the ball forward quite quickly and played off a lot of second balls. So we have to be ready for that. And we have to play. We have to get the ball down and play, and as we have been doing, and try and build the game from the back, and obviously have more of a threat in the final third of the pitch than we've had possibly in the last 2 games. Against
Birmingham, the team gave them something to hang on to, didn't they, by the mistakes that they made? Does that mean that they're perhaps losing concentration, not motivation, because it's that time of the season?
I don't think it's a case of that so much. I just think possibly there's a little bit of mental fatigue in there. I think also that there is a situation for players where, we've played a very short season, or a long season over a short period rather, and errors have crept into the games, and obviously they've been the things that have been decisive in terms of the results that we've had, particularly in the last couple of games. And that's something that we're keen to address. Players come into the team, they obviously never intentionally make mistakes, but that's part of the process for staying in the team. To come into the team and do well, you have to make sure that you don't make mistakes, and that if you do, that they're not consequential in terms of the result as well. So we have to make sure that that's part of our game that we have to iron out over the next 5 games and take that forward with us into next season.
You say that you've got a lot of faith in the players that you have. Have you learnt anything new about the players and their character with the back-to-back defeats? Has anything come out of the woodwork from that?
Yeah, I think you're learning about the players all the time, really, and that, and some of it you like, some of it you don't like. To be honest, that's the part of the joy of being a football manager. But I think that the reaction's been good. The players have been good this week. We had a couple of good meetings looking back at the game. They've trained well, and as I say, they're ready to play. They're in good form today, so hopefully that will lend itself to a good performance tomorrow.
You mentioned that it gives you a chance to look at players. People have been screaming at you for more youth, but you've got to have the right experience and blend, haven't you?
Well, yeah, but people can scream, but we were the team that played the most minutes under 23. So I'm not sure. I can feel the team of 16-year-olds, but that won't necessarily help us at this time. We have young players that have been around the first team. We've got a number of young players that have played a lot of minutes this season, which I think is important. And what we don't want to do is jeopardise young players by putting them in too early and them having maybe a negative experience. So the players have to earn the right to play. You can't, I think what we'll see tomorrow is the team will be freshened up a bit, and hopefully those players take the opportunity.
Top 10 still the aim, or just finishing as high as you possibly can?
Of course, yeah. The aim is to gather as many points as we can in the last 5 games, and then we'll see where that takes us. Obviously, where we finish in the league will be dependent on what the teams around us do as well. But our aim is in these 5 games to certainly finish us strongly, and that was our aim, obviously, prior to the 2 games that we've lost. So we need to see a reaction tomorrow.
Well, Dean Holden's joined you in a bit of a coaching reshuffle or restructure. He was very complimentary about your presentation skills when he first met you. What will he
Right.
bring to the club as apart from a fresh set of eyes and a different voice? What's the something different that you think he'll bring?
I think first of all, he's got great experience in the Championship from the period he had at Bristol City. He's also worked, lower down with Dean Smith as well at Walsall, and has good experience of working in the EFL. I also think he's a good track record of working with younger players. And, I tried to bring him to the club in the summer, and he was very keen to come to add to our coaching staff. But unfortunately, he was offered the Bristol City job, and clearly that's an opportunity as a young coach that you have to take. But when the opportunity came for us to get the chance to work again, I felt he was the right fit, and it's never easy, making the changes that I made. But I felt it was the right thing for the club, and that's one thing that I'll continue to do. As long as I'm a manager, I'll make decisions that I think are in the best interest of the club. And Dean coming to the club, I felt was the right decision.
And whilst we know there's going to be no long-term injured players back, any update on Fox, Doughty and McLean?
Well, McLean will be out to the end of the season, so he won't play. Doughty has had a little bit of a setback, and not with his initial injury, but he's got a little bit of a foot heel problem, which we have to get to the bottom of. And Fox will start light training with the team on Monday, so none of those players will be back. So all the players that remain out, which I think is as many as possibly 8 or 9, if you include Clark and that, obviously, who we had on loan, Oakley Booth, Allen, Collins, Campbell, Fox, McLean, they're all still out, yeah.
Well, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ange. George now, please.
Michael, obviously you've alluded to the fact you want to finish as high as possible. Both teams are not going into this game just playing out the season, are they, really? I mean, Preston, obviously, after what appeared to be a decent start, obviously changed management, and they'll be looking there because there are possibly jobs up for people to see. But the man in charge at the moment will want to put his marker down as well, won't he, for that particular job, as you will want to get the points to finish in a high position.
Of course, yeah. Like, obviously, when you're an interim manager, as Frankie McAvoy is, he'll want to do as well for himself as much as anything else, and that's natural. That's the nature of football. So, look, they had a difficult game against Brentford, but in recent times also they went and won away at Swansea as well. So that's not an easy place to go and win the game. I think they caught Brentford on a really good day as well, which you can do. They're a side with a huge amount to play for as well. But we have our own agenda, and as I've spoken about earlier, our own agenda is to finish as high as we can, use that as preparation towards next season, evaluate the squad over these 5 games, and then that hopefully that will help us make the necessary changes to move forward.
The misdemeanors in defence and mistakes, has that been one of the big frustrations for you, Michael? Not only over a couple of games, but over the season?
Yeah, but I don't think we've made as many. If I look back at last season, for example, there was a lot more. There was a lot more direct goalkeeping errors, for example, last season, as opposed to what we've seen this season. We've had to deal with a change in 3 different goalkeepers playing, so that's always a little bit disruptive. And we've had a few, goals in the back 4 that are avoidable, clearly. I think if you look at the Championship every week, if you watch the highlights, you'll see a lot of goals that come from direct mistakes. That's the nature of the league that we're in. But certainly, as from our point of view, those are things that we need to get out of our game, because ultimately they've been the deciding factors in games. Even when I feel at times we've been the better team in the game, ultimately we've maybe not capitalised on that, and we've lost a game or drawn a game perhaps due to an error. So that's something that we have to, as I say, try and get out of our makeup. Do
you put that down to game management then, Michael, amongst the team?
Well, it's down to individual mistakes at times. Game management is part of it, but it's not really, if you lose a goal off a second phase set piece, it's not really game management. The first one was game management against Birmingham, because we didn't learn from the first throw in, and ultimately, we should have had a higher line to make sure that Djukovic was further out when he headed the ball. And that's ultimately what put us behind in the game and made the game obviously more difficult for ourselves.
But you are getting enough from the team, you feel, that the results should, I suppose, really show better in terms of the effort, the continuity?
Well, look, I've never questioned the effort of the players. At times I've been disappointed with the performance level. That happens, but I wouldn't question their effort on anything. And certainly we don't have that culture within the club. We don't have it on training days. We've got a good group of players now that work hard. At times, maybe we've not played as well as what we could have done. At times we've maybe, conceded goals that we shouldn't have done. And really, it's very difficult when you look at the number of injuries that we've had. It's quite difficult to have continuity without having to make changes to the team. And this is a season like no other. And but I think we'll be better for the experience of having come through this season. And we have to, as I say, use that experience to make ourselves stronger next season.
And an opportunity for certain players to put themselves in your thoughts as we run into the final phase of the season, Michael.
Yeah, look, if players get the opportunity, it's down to them to take it. Simple as that. They have to earn the opportunity as well. And they earn the opportunity by how they do when they come up to train, particularly the younger ones. And then obviously, if we put them on the pitch, and, young Christian Norton's an example of that. He came up and trained well. He then got the opportunity to be on the bench, and he's had a couple of little cameos off the bench, and he's looked quite promising. And that's the pathway you have as a young player. You have to, take the opportunity when it comes along, and his opportunity is there because obviously, the players that I mentioned, the likes of Clark, who's here on loan, the likes of Campbell are out injured, and that's it's nice to see a young player come and take that opportunity. And if he gets the chance tomorrow, I'm sure he'll not let himself down.
Thanks for joining us, Michael. All the best tomorrow.
Dave, and then we'll just focus on Pete.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Dave. 5
games left. Looking at the season, is it unfair to describe this season as transitional?
I don't think it's unfair. I think it's probably accurate to an extent. I think that if you look at the 2 seasons that the club has had in the Championship, we had to go to the second last game of last season to survive. So I'm not sure whether it's feasible, given where we had to, the business that we had to do in the transfer windows to come from that position and feel that we should get promoted. I don't think that's a realistic aim in this league at this minute in time. So yeah, it has been transitional because you've seen players like Harry Souttar come into the team. You've seen Nathan Collins come into the team. Joe Bursitt come into the team. Jordan Thompson become more of a regular. And we've coped with, at times a lot more senior players come out of the team as well. So yeah, I think one thing the important thing for me this season was to first of all gain stability. And I think we've done that. The team and the club is more stable. We're not looking over our shoulder, at League One, and we're disappointed that we're not closer to the playoffs. So, whatever term you choose to put in that, I suppose, is up to the individual and how you see it. But from my point of view, I think we've taken, a lot of steps in the right direction. But equally, we've had some negative experiences as well. And over the course of a 46-game season, I think that's what you're going to experience.
A lot of players and managers have joined Stoke City, and they all tend to say the same thing in recent years, and that it's a big club. Even Dean Holden actually sort of said this from joining from Bristol City to Stoke City. Stoke is a big club, and I'm wondering whether it's the size of the club that is causing the club a problem. Comparing us to, say, to like Luton or Barnsley or something like this, whether turning this club around is proving harder because of the size of the club. Think that's fair?
I can name you 12 clubs off the top of my head in the Championship that will feel exactly the same. Nottingham Forest, Derby, Cardiff, just off the top of my head, Middlesbrough. They're all big clubs in their respective areas. They all have the same ambitions. I think Leeds were 18 years in the Championship before they got promoted. I think Nottingham Forest are possibly around that time frame as well. I think you underestimate at times the nature of this league and how difficult it is. There's a lot of clubs in this League have the aspirations to get promoted. Even clubs who have in recent times been in the Premier League, Birmingham City, another example of that we played last week. But every club has they're all at slightly different stages. And a lot of that is down to where you are financially, parachute payments, strengths. The clubs that come down, the Norwiches, the Watfords, Bournemouth are the strongest teams financially in the league because of financial fair play. And then you have teams that are, Swansea and Reading that are, start rebuilding. And we're in that process of rebuilding the club. That's what we're doing. There was a reason why we were bottom of the league. And we finished in the bottom, the 2 seasons, we finished 15th and 16th. So we haven't been a promotion-based team since the period that we've been in the Championship. We have to build a promotion-based team. And this season, we're disappointed that we're not closer to the playoffs, and we have to try and build that team going forward.
Based on what you've just said, are you saying that it's a phase, we've got to the transitional stage, and next season we're going for promotion?
No, I think you misinterpreted me there somewhat. If you look at the clubs that will come down for next season, there's a lot of spending power in those clubs to bring players in. If you look at where we have had to spend money, we've brought free agents to the club, and we've only bought 3 young players that we believe are assets. We won't be in the market to buy an Ivan Toney, or we won't be in the market to buy a Jordan Hugill as Norwich did. At this minute in time, we will have to go through another process, probably of 12 months. It doesn't mean that we can't be competitive in the league and that we can't have aspirations. Of course, we have aspirations of promotion. But I think, there are things there that will make it difficult for us, but they're not things that we can't overcome.